A company is a legal entity and it can carry on a business in its own right. A company will have both an ABN and also an ACN. ACN stands for an Australian Company Number. You can tell it is a company as it will end in Proprietary Limited or Pty Ltd for short. A company has one or more directors who control the company, so it's important to ensure that the person who you are completing the agreement with is actually a director of the company. This is a common cause for delay on agreement assessment where the person included as the contact person and the guarantor for a company is not the actual director. Only directors are able to sign on behalf of a company. So for this reason, agreements need to be amended with the actual director having to sign, which often involves a sales rep, as yourself, going out to see the customer again. Many companies will have more than one director. However, we only need one of those to be included as a guarantor and to sign on behalf of the customer. So let's take a look at page 1. So specific to the company, we've got the company name included as the legal name. Tick company on the customer type. Because it is a company, there will both be an ABN and an ACN, which, as I previously mentioned, is the Australian Company Number. The customer should have both of these available for you. Everything else on this page remains the same. Let's move on to page 2, being the guarantor page. As we said earlier, we only need to have one director included as a guarantor as a minimum. The personal details of the director should be included into this section. It's important to make sure that you've asked the customer about any property ownership that they might have and enter the details here. As a side note, if the director that's completing the application doesn't own property and there are more than one director, it is worthwhile asking whether the other director does own property, as this will improve the likelihood of the application being approved. In this scenario, if the other director does own property, be sure to include them as a guarantor and have them sign all the signing pages as customer and guarantor also. As mentioned earlier, there is only one director required to be included as a minimum. However, if there are two directors and they both want to be included, then obviously include the second director here. And that's it for the guarantor page. So moving on to page 3, the signature page. The director or directors, if you've included two as guarantors on page 2, both will have to sign here, including their names and the date signed. Because it is a company, you will tick as company director in the second box, and then you will sign as witness. So now signing as individual guarantor. Each director included as a guarantor on the previous page will sign and date here. Ensure that you as the agent witness each signature. As mentioned, if a second director was included as a guarantor on page 2, they must sign as guarantor 2 here. And that's all there is for the signing page. So keep in mind that signing as the company will be the same for the remainder of the agreement. Moving on to page 4, which is the business use declaration. The director or directors will sign here, including their name and the date signed. For the goods acknowledgement of delivery and installation, you'll complete the customer name, which will be the same as section 1 on page 1. The signing of the goods acknowledgement is signed in the exact same way as you did on the previous page of the customer acceptance. The director signs, including their name and the date signed, tick as director, and then you sign as witness in the box on the right. And that's all for this page. So the final page for the company being page 5, which is the direct debit request. So looking at the direct debit request at the top, enter the customer name, which is the legal name from section 1, page 1. Then enter in the business bank account details for the company. And the final signature for the agreement, the director or directors will sign as authorising the repayment, making sure that the date is also completed. So that's as simple as the company is, with the main differences being that only one director needs to be included, and you will tick company director instead of individual when signing is done on behalf of a company.